Cynics on Disney podcast contains adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
This is the Cynics on Disney podcast, presented by nightclub33.com.
Welcome into this week's episode of the Cynics on Disney podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, aka the Disney Cynic.
And I'm Amanda, aka the Anti-Cynic.
And today we are going to discuss something that is very near and dear to my wife's heart. Because, well, y'all know that she is a former cast member. And, you know, after, like, are you kidding me? It's been literally 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
We've been doing this fucking podcast for 3 years.
That's insane.
So, on the week of the third anniversary of us doing this podcast, we are going to discuss Amanda's former employer, and that, of course, would be the Coral Reef restaurant, y'all.
Yay!
I've never seen someone so excited to talk about history, and that includes the kid I used to beat up for lunch money. I never actually did that. I was the one who got beaten up. I just wanted to sound cool at 38.
You're not 38 yet, baby.
See, I just wanted to sound cool, okay? God.
I'm trying to make you feel better because you're not 38 yet. You're still 37.
Let's just move on before we get too deep into numbers. Amanda.
Yes.
You're the history professor of this here podcast. Give us a little bit of a rundown. And I mean a little bit of a rundown. Not the spiel that you received before you started your employ there. A little bit of a rundown on the, you know what, I guess we could do the Seas Pavilion in general, but mostly Coral Reef.
Well, I think we've already done the Seas Pavilion in general. Because we did the ride that we were in line to ride, but it broke down.
One of my favorite episodes.
So I am not going to get into the history of the pavilion as a whole because we've done that. And I don't have my list of episodes up in front of me, so I can't go back and tell you exactly what episode like I normally do.
Hey, Steve, you're in the future. Why don't you tell us which episode that it was so that we can go back and look?
That would be episode 17 from May of 2021 called The Seas with Breakdowns and No Friends.
Thanks, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Steve, for that information that I normally have but didn't tonight. Anyway.
That's right.
Anyway, so there's not a lot of history on the restaurant itself. It opened when the rest of the pavilion opened, which it just celebrated a birthday. It opened January 15th of 1986. So it just celebrated a birthday a couple weeks ago.
Wow, so this is older than I am, and the Challenger explosion. That's something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, baby. The restaurant itself is made to give you the effect that you are going underwater. So like the lobby area, it's supposed to feel like you're on the like beach, like the floor is supposed to represent the sand, and you've got, you know, as you get in further into the restaurant, it goes into more blues. So by the time you're in the actual dining room, it's very subdued lighting. It's a lot of blues and greens to give an underwater effect. And of course, there's a giant aquarium that takes up one whole wall.
Well, we're going to get
the star
to the
of the show.
Yeah, we're going to get to the aquarium. Believe me.
That aquarium is the star of the show. Don't worry though.
I'm sorry. That was an interrupting dolphin.
Jesus Christ. First we have interrupting cows, now we have interrupting dolphins.
That's right.
I don't like this. I don't like this.
Well, that's what was swimming around in the tank and everything. Well, at least on one side of it anyway. But anyway.
Not on our side, though.
Yeah, not on our side.
We didn't have the dolphins.
Would have been better if we just said that we did. God, why ruin every joke?
Because I'm not ruining the joke. I'm giving accurate information.
That ruins the joke. But anyway, finish it off this here history lesson.
Anyway, so the window from the aquarium, don't worry, it's pretty thick. It's 8 inches thick.
What about the wall? You said the
I
window.
don't know.
What about the wall?
I know. I don't. We didn't get to the wall.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And the tank.
Down these balls, all these bitches crawl.
Welcome.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Podcast with a millennial couple.
Yes. As if there's not there's a great shortage of podcasts that are hosted by millennial couples. Believe me.
Yeah, particularly us who happen to be, from Atlanta, and just hip hop lyrics and all go through our heads at all times.
Look, you're not going to get this kind of entertainment from any other millennial couple podcast. I can tell you that.
Nope. We are unique. Anyway,
they don't have a dolphin squeaking.
God. No, we also have a doodle in the background.
Oh, they definitely have that. Trust me.
That is the common dog. Anyway, this tank is a 6 million gallon tank. It was the largest aquarium when it opened, but then the Georgia Aquarium opened in Atlanta, and that became the world's largest aquarium.
Yeah. To bring in Lil Jon again. What?
Gotta rep the A.
I mean, that what echoed. It really did.
It did. And what's sad is there's no loud noise warning. So that's just
no, absolutely not. And there's also no soundproofing in these. I really feel like the insulation in this house is very poor. But anyway,
it is.
Enough about this.
Anyway.
So does that
and
wrap
if you I'm wrapping it up now.
Okay, I'm just asking.
If you are curious as to what this restaurant looks like, guess what? There are several TV shows, and by several I mean 2 that I know of, that you can watch and see this restaurant in all its glory. And those would be the shows of Full House and Boy Meets World.
That's true. That is true.
Specifically for Full House, from season 6, this episode aired May 11th, 1993, and it is called The House Meets the Mouse Part 1.
Huh, okay.
And then for Boy Meets World, you can see it from their season 3 episode, which aired May 10th of 1996, and that one was titled The Happiest Show on Earth.
So I've got some problems with both of these episodes, as you might imagine, and might as well review it here on this here podcast. The problem that I have with the Full House episode is that both Joey and Jesse go underwater into a giant bubble, and they're supposed to be doing their, I guess, hit radio show out in San Francisco. I believe that is the bit. And then they get freaked out by sharks. I believe that is the bit. Have you ever seen one of those scuba bubbles? You had to have working there.
Not necessarily. We had divers, but they were scuba divers.
Gotcha. So one of those scuba bubbles is basically the size of an extra large beach ball. It is not big at all. On top of that, so getting 2 people in there, not happening. That's what I'm getting at. On top of that, this was 1993, you said, when this episode debuted?
The Full House episode, yes.
Yeah, I can assure you from my setup over here, there's nothing but wires all over the frickin' place. And I can't imagine that there were less wires in 1993. So there's no doubt in my mind that they electrocuted half the fish, is what or themselves, I should say. Like, there's no way they didn't. They have to have power in there, and I don't see Disney providing an overhead plug, not in salt water anyway, which is a greater conductor of electricity. That's right. You have all the facts coming from this.
Yeah.
So yeah, they electrocute half the fish and everyone dies. That's what I'm getting at with Full House. On the episode of Boy Meets World, it's because Corey is chasing Topanga throughout the parks, and boy, is their park hopping schedule just stupid. And
yeah.
I mean, and also on top of that, Sean and Corey, you don't need to be sleeping in one of those boats on Splash Mountain.
They can't do that anymore.
Well, no, but they that shit hurt my back just sitting in it. How the hell could you lay and sleep there the whole night?
Yeah, but then I also think back to when we were like that age, and I could have slept anywhere and have been fine the next day.
I have always been a problem. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I mean,
at one point,
that's true.
At one point, I believe that I was sleepwalking. So there's that. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Thank you for not doing that now.
Oh, believe me, I'm it's gone the opposite way. It's gone to narcolepsy, where I'm just like falling asleep randomly. Yeah, that's the better tactic. Way to go from sleepwalking.
I'm sorry, but could you imagine Cooper's reaction? Could you imagine Cooper's reaction to you sleepwalking?
He sees me get up in the middle of the night to take a leak. It's fine. You know, it's either that or I trip over him. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. I mean, don't say that. Yeah. Anyway. So, no, Corey's like chasing Topanga throughout her terribly planned day or two at the Walt Disney World, resort. And
I believe...
Then some guy, I don't remember his name, I don't care who he was a one-off character, takes her out to dinner at this restaurant. They're all of 14 years old. This is a signature dining experience. It would cost you 2 dining credits if you were stupid enough to use them here. You know, and what this kid, teenage money bags over here, Richie Rich, is going to take Topanga out? No, I'm sorry. Then again, they're like 14 in this episode, maybe like somewhere in that neighborhood. Corey's in there scuba diving without a dive master. Fun fact about me, I was once certified as a scuba diver, and I actually know the rules on this. You may absolutely scuba dive at as early as age 11, but you are not allowed to dive without at least an adult and preferably a dive master to make sure that your kid ass doesn't die. What is Corey doing in a tank with sharks trying to fucking hit on a girl that keeps telling him to go away? I mean, is that not the weirdest fucking episode now that it's 2024?
Oh, no, it is very much a weird episode. By the way, that guy was played by 90s and early 2000s teenage heartthrob Andrew Keegan.
I'm proud to say that I don't remember that name. So
he was in like everything back in the day.
I will just believe you and move on. All right. So does that cover the history of the Coral Reef restaurant? Excellent. So we got a reservation with my parents, as a matter of fact. And once we got to the reservation time frame window, we were immediately told that we had to wait out in the lobby for 25 minutes, something like that. We were out there forever.
Yeah, that's y'all's fault. That's your and your dad's fault.
Okay. Yeah. My dad had to go pick something up. It's fine. It's
like,
not.
We had it, like our table was ready, but they don't seat you until your entire party's there.
Okay. So. Sorry I was trying to keep my dad company and stuff like that,
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying, don't blame them that we had to wait.
Nonetheless, we were out there for a good minute, there for a while, but we were finally seated. And to me, this is the best experience, but to you, it's the second best. We got a table right up against the aquarium wall, y'all.
Yeah. And that's the reaction that 99% of people have that dine there. That's where they want. They want right up on that. It's tiered seating, so there's 3 tiers of seating, and everybody wants that bottom tier right up against the tank.
I don't even know that we requested it. Did you guys request
We
it?
didn't. No, we didn't. That's just we got lucky.
Don't ask
In
and you
that
shall
aspect.
receive, apparently. So
But that's not my favorite spot in the restaurant. The problem with being right up against the tank, it is cool because you're again right up against the tank. But you can only see that little section. I like the middle tier, because then you can see you're still fairly close to the tank, but you can see everything. You have a much wider view from your table in the middle section there. So that's where I think the best seating is. And
here's why you're wrong. Okay. When you are right up against the glass, you are able to see into the tank much deeper and further, thereby further immersing yourself within this oceanic world that is right at your fingertips, separated by only several inches of acrylic. I mean,
8 inches to be specific.
Okay. Really hanging on to that 8 inches, huh? All right. Well, yeah, I'll let that simmer a little long.
Oh no, I'm letting it go. I'm just letting it go.
Anywho, when you are forced to take steps back, yes, you may see a little bit wider view field of the aquarium as a whole. But I don't know about you. I wasn't a fan of looking at concrete necessarily. I was looking inside that tank, though.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely had a much like we could see further back into the tank, yes. But I feel like you also miss a lot cuz again, you're right up, you have your one spot that you're looking at. Fun fact, the area that we were sitting in, had there been a diver in the tank that night, we probably wouldn't have seen them.
Yeah, because we had like a part of the coral reef like right up against like the
Yeah, we were in an area where we wouldn't have seen like a diver. And it's really cool to see the divers. It's really, really cool when it's Mickey who's doing the diving. So
that seems dangerous based on what I understand of costumes and mascots and stuff. But
Mickey does have a dive suit and will occasionally go diving in the tank and
feels
go
a
over
little
to the window
ridiculous.
at Coral Reef.
Feels just a tidbit ridiculous.
Saw him a couple of times.
I can't wait for that head to get snagged on a coral and get yanked off by mistake.
Stop.
What? Then the kids will think that Mickey died with his head cut off. Is that messed up? Yes. What? He's in the public domain now. I can do whatever I want with him.
No, only Steamboat Willie is in the public domain.
He's in the public domain. We'll see.
But only the Steamboat Willie version.
All right. Well, fine. Let's talk about the sitting experience. Gentlemen, I've been informed that no matter, because I know my listener, you're probably a millennial, an elder millennial of some kind with some form of facial hair. So there's potentially glasses, but you definitely like beer. That's my guess for the average listener of this podcast. We know that that's not the truth. We have a weird amount of women that we know that listen to this podcast, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter that you think that you invented the joke. Okay, I have been informed by my lovely wife Amanda that you should not ask the server or the hostess, where can I get my bait so that I can catch my dinner.
Do not do any version of the joke of, oh, is this where I pick out the fish I'm going to eat? That's so stupid. Every dad does it. So you're not original. God knows how many times I heard that in a night when I worked there. Jesus Christ, please don't do it.
Actually, this is a great question. On average, how many times would you say that you heard it?
On average a night?
Yes.
at least 5, if not more. Probably 5 to 10
All right, so
at least.
and it's been open since 1986.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of quick math here because you know what I like to do for my podcast? While you Google shit, I like to calculate. That's going to be my new thing. Okay, so there's 365 days in a year. It's been open for, as we mentioned, 38 years. That's a total of 13,870 days. On average, you said 5 times a night.
5 to 10, yeah.
Okay, so and how many employees were typically on shift with you?
There's probably, including servers,
Yes.
anyone who was front of house, probably we would have had 20-ish, 25-ish.
Okay, so we're going to multiply that by 25 for the number of employees. And let's just say that only half of those employees are experiencing it 5 times a day. We'll just go with that. Just to be generous and say that this is not done on every single fucking occasion that can possibly be done. So we're going to multiply that here. And what I am coming up with is that joke has been told 1,733,750 times at this restaurant.
Please do not make this joke. For the sake of every hostess and every server that is there, every
And your
seater,
children, your wife, significant other, whatever.
yes,
Just
please do not. Please don't. It's not funny. It's not original. We roll our eyes when you're not looking, and then we will go and gripe about how
did
yet
you
again somebody else made that stupid joke.
did you do a finger gun? Like
No, I would politely laugh.
that's what
Like
you
it was the
should have
first
you should have
time.
gone with a like a little tongue click and a little finger gun action. Yeah,
I was
that's what
also
you
a
should
lot
have
more
done.
awkward when I worked there, so.
What do you think that was? Do you think that was confident? No. That had awkward oozing out of its pores.
But I mean, like, definitely a lot more shy.
A
But
9-year-old Harry Potter fan trying to ask out a 13-year-old could not be more awkward than that phrase in my mind. So
and I will say I was a little disappointed because when I worked there, and I don't know when they got rid of these, but they used to have what were called fish guides, which we gave to everybody. And, when we we gave one to each table. And
here's the variant that you need to be concerned about, guys.
Hmm.
That fish guide was never the menu.
And I wonder if that's why they got rid of it, because literally that was the catalyst for everybody making that stupid joke. It was a cool thing because it identified all the fish that you could see swimming in the tank while you ate. So you could sit there and, as you're waiting on your food or whatever, you could be looking at your fish. It was the educational part. It kept that spirit of education alive in Epcot. But yes, also it was the catalyst for all of the jokes about
You're
picking
welcome.
your fish.
You're welcome, guys.
So
I'm glad that you both. Here's what happened. They all got a chuckle out of it. They all got a chuckle out of it, and then they realized, I don't need to do it. I think I just helped out everyone.
It was dumb. I miss the fish guide. I don't miss that stupid joke.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of the fish, let's talk about like some of the varieties that are in there. There are all sorts of parrotfish. There are all sorts of rays. There are all sorts of tropical coral that are in there, and several coral feeding fish that are there. I would also point out that there are sharks in these waters, and I just made dinner a little uncomfortable. They have a couple different varieties of shark. By the way, they have like a midget hammerhead or something.
Yeah. I saw a small hammerhead in there.
I mean, it's not like a regular hammerhead that's like a baby, but it's literally like a tiny one version of one.
Yeah.
They also had black tip in there, which because I was obsessed with a show on Animal Planet over aquariums and stuff like that, I know that they can only grow to about 5 feet or so.
Yeah.
And that will make them better for aquariums because they don't need a whole, ocean worth of territory and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Please keep in mind when we say there were sharks in this tank, it was smaller varieties of sharks.
Yes, and then there's like the awkward shark that's still technically a shark, but it looks like I don't know, like it got crapped out like at the last minute.
Poor
Like
shark.
whatever day that God created heaven and the earth and the ocean and all that stuff, and the last day is like all the animals and stuff like that. All right, we got room for any more here. I didn't really finish. Throw that one in. That's kind of what they did with these other
Ah,
sharks that are there.
poor
Nonetheless,
fish.
because I am absolutely fascinated by aquariums. I'm terrified of the ocean.
I was about to say,
Terrified.
which is so weird because you hate the ocean,
Yeah, absolutely hate the ocean.
but
And
aquariums.
I'm literally terrified of every other creature that's on the opposite side of that wall. And the reason why is because if we had like a brain probe of some kind that we could communicate with these creatures, the only thing that they would be saying is, I want to eat you. That's it. Food, food. Look, giant food. That's all they would say. I don't know why they're like, cavemen or, one of those weird, like cartoonish, uh, like jungle dwelling tribes of some kind that like
Yeah.
spoke really broken English for some reason in sci-fi shows. I mean, this was in the 60s, but still, I don't know. I never really understood that one. They always talked like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they had cavemen do that. Neither does Cooper, apparently, because he just
Nah.
huffed.
You know what? Let's go ahead and get into the actual dining experience. Amanda, what did you have to eat that night?
So I had the grilled mahi mahi. This is the first time I ever ate at Coral Reef. This is what I had and fell in love with mahi mahi because of this. So I figured we're back. Might as well go with one of my all time favorites. It comes with a street corn style salad and a cilantro lime crema over garlic jasmine rice. Um, and I was slightly disappointed in it this time around.
Interesting. Please continue. Be critical.
Again, this was like always been one of my favorite meals at Coral Reef, but this time it just felt like the fish itself was a little bit overdone. Um, I mean, mahi mahi is like, oh, it's supposed to be a little bit flakier than what it was. Um, Now the rice and everything else was fantastic. But yeah, the fish itself was slightly overdone, which disappointed me a little.
Now we can get into some of the reasons why potentially here in just a little bit. I had the slow roasted prime rib, which came with roasted potatoes. I told them to F off with the caramelized onions that it also comes with, and it comes with something called mixed herb pistau. I don't.
Is it pistau or pistou?
I'm sure it's something French sounding. The besides the white trash version of how I just pronounced it. It was called pistau. I don't know where that came from.
Well,
Um,
I just Googled it,
mm-hmm.
and you're right. It
Amanda
is.
Google shit.
Woo! You're right. It is French. It is an olive oil based basil sauce from the south of France.
Well, they did not use basil, I guess. Instead, what they used is grass clippings because that's what it tasted like. It tasted like the last meal of the fucking steak that I just ate. And then I don't. I don't think that was necessary for me to dine on his food as well, but it's where we went with it. I
Oh,
only could suffer through one bite of that shit. Um, so this was a disappointment for you,
a little,
a
a little
little.
bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, then why don't we just go ahead and we've covered a wide range of topics on the subject. So we might as well get to the rating. Amanda, on a scale of 1 to 5 corals, how many reefs are you giving this restaurant?
I'm gonna go with a 4.
Okay.
I think I'm always gonna hold this restaurant in a bit higher of a esteem just because that's where I worked. And it's always gonna have a special place in my heart, and I'm never gonna give it like a super low rating ever. Um, but yeah, the mahi mahi being a little overdone, that just it disappointed me.
No, I
But
totally understand why that would bother you. I mean, if they, especially if this is supposed to be their signature dish, then I would think that um, they should be able to knock that out fairly easily and not overcook it. Don't think that it was certainly an intentional thing to target
no, I don't
you, but
either.
that was
No.
always another possibility with the kitchen. You never know with the staff. I don't know. Sometimes maybe one of them was like, "Hey, she used to work here. If one of them's shitty, just give it to her." I don't know. That could have happened.
I will say I was pleasantly surprised to find out that 3 people that I worked with are still there. So
No,
that was cool to
okay.
find out.
So I am going to give this a 3. It was
Okay.
middling. It was average. It was not my cup of tea for. Well, I don't even like tea. I don't even know why I'm using that expression. But it certainly wasn't, my type of restaurant. Because I am
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of seafood. See, I don't even like
Right.
to eat the shit. Let alone like be in its
You
environment.
literally only like aquariums.
Yeah, it's because I feel like I'm putting those evil like man eaters in prison or something,
Okay.
like Minority Report style, like pre-prisoning them so that they don't commit the crime of eating me. That's that's my thought process on aquariums. There you go, guys. Um, but you know, a steak option is something that's standard at every seafood restaurant. It's one that's standard at pretty
Yeah.
much every restaurant that serves $20 meals and above across America. And it
Yeah.
kind of feels like they could have done a better job. Like I said, this herb pistow it was not something that enhanced the flavor. In fact, it really, really like startled the flavor away. Like it just made me think of grass. I'm serious. That's how thick it was with basil. And the potatoes like usually when you have roasted potatoes, you have some sort of oil or something that kind of
Yeah.
they were super dry. Like they had just been sitting out for a good long while. And
That
I,
that's weird.
yeah, and it just didn't really taste all that great to me. So I didn't even really finish the potatoes. But you aren't necessarily coming here for the food. You're coming here for the view. I mean, this is Space
Right.
220 before Space 220 in
Right.
some senses. And it's a shame. It's really a crying shame that Disney doesn't invest a little bit more into the food portion of this restaurant. Um, but you know what? That's kind of where Disney is going these days. And in fact, let's talk about that for a couple of minutes here, so that we can delay the inevitable news that we feel obligated to cover. Uh, you know,
Okay.
this is, I guess, our Disney cleansing moment of the year, because we kept doing this with like the the IPs and stuff. Like we always had like kind of like a 10-minute rant last couple shows here, but I kind of feel like because Disney feels like they are trying to give you a particular type of experience these days whenever you're going out to eat, whether that's you know the Mexican pavilion where with the Sound on Hell Inn. I mean, that is a very unique type of dining experience. Um,
Yeah.
the beer house, via Napoli. The Tepanado, all these places are rather immersive sort of dining experiences. A couple of them in there still have, some heart left to them, I guess, but more and
Yeah.
more it kind of feels like the food aspect of this is not being addressed because they're more concerned about the experience. You ate at one point over at Space 220, did you not?
I did.
Refresh our memory. What was your experience like over there?
Not good. Like, not at all. That was the one where we waited for like 2 hours for food, and um, it was a burger.
Right.
Like was so yeah, that was a mess, and it wasn't great either. It was definitely not worth as long as we waited.
Did you get caught up in the experience of
No.
floating above the earth or anything like that?
No, the quote unquote trip to space, like that's supposed to make you feel like you're, leaving Florida and going up to the space station or whatever.
Sure.
That's cool. But like once we got in there, we were sitting I feel like we were sitting too far back um to really like get lost in anything because we were at the very back of the restaurant. In fact,
Mm.
there was like one whole like section of like of a view that we couldn't see, and apparently that was where like there's like some like a image of somebody like walking their dog.
Do you realize that there's an exact parallel to everything that you just said about the Coral Reef restaurant?
Yeah.
That's weird. So this is,
Yeah.
but I think if you go and look at the reviews and everything like that, you're going to catch a few, vloggers that can't say how much they love it enough, so that they sucker you into getting reservations over here. But I think the vast majority
Hmm.
of the reviews are in, and it's that, hey, this was cool to see, but definitely not worth it, and the food sucked.
Right. Right. And unfortunately, I mean, the food when I was there, like the food was freaking amazing. Like heck, I loved when I was GTing or general being the general teller at night because any leftover food, because I was there until like midnight or later. Um and any like when I was cashing out servers, if there was leftover food, they were bringing me leftover food.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was good too.
Well, but this is the problem with kind of the strictly cost cutting model that Bob Iger has had been forced to employ to get the financials back on track with the Disney company as a whole. You know, not for nothing that when you cut down on expenses like that, you're not going to get the same quality. And you know what? This is what we have been ranting and raving about, on and off here on this podcast for the longest of times. It's that we want the same Disney quality that's back, and I feel like that is missing. An element of it is missing at every single turn. Like restaurants
Yeah.
would still be good restaurants, no matter their theme.
You're absolutely correct. And what gets me about the cost cutting on the food is I feel like our generation loves food.
That's
We
all they
love
fucking talk about on these vlogs. Like, I don't. The
oh
reason, look, we could actually like make bank if we started just going and buying all the snacks and stuff like that. Like, at the very least, people in the comment section would tip us the cost of the snack. We could at least do this like at cost. It-
like
is all I'm
that's
saying. It's all
all millennials. That's all we talk about.
like I can't understand every time that there's a new festival or a new
Yeah.
snack stand or whatever. Like my YouTube page gets flooded with that
Yeah.
shit, and I'm like, God, leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's all that our generation loves to talk about, or that's the thing we love to talk about the most. I mean,
You
how
know,
many dining reviews do we have on
I
here?
mean, we've got a lot, but also, now that you mention it, maybe our generation sucks because the I mean, we're the generation that said, yeah, food trucks, that's a great idea. Have a kitchen that's, on the back of a fucking box truck and expect it to be healthy. Yeah, that's a great idea. So, but that's kind of akin to what all these festival booths are and everything like that. And yeah,
Yeah.
who doesn't love dessert? But my parents' generation, your
You.
dad's generation, that kind of thing. Dessert was more reserved to a degree. It wasn't like it wasn't like a common experience, and all of these vloggers get like type 3 diabetes was absolutely invented at Disney World. There's no doubt about
Yeah, I agree.
it. So don't get me wrong, the snacks look pretty, and there's some things that are still very high quality, but we don't understand why it's not that way across the board.
Right. Right. Like, why? There was a time where even like quick service dining was acceptable at Disney
Well,
instead of crap.
and believe me, the last couple of times here, quick service restaurants, I think we had a hit with our next review that we're going to
Yeah.
do, but outside of that, it's been fairly garbage for quick service here. So, all right,
Yep.
I delayed this as long as I could. Let's do the news. Can't believe that. All right. Disney, or let's see here. A judge has ruled that, or has dismissed a First Amendment lawsuit filed by Disney against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The judge acknowledged that Disney is harmed by the laws enacted, saying that Disney's loss of voting rights in the district is enough to constitute a constitutional injury, but that because the law impacts other special districts in the state, Disney cannot say that it is being singled out. Furthermore, the judge says that Disney cannot look towards the motivations of the legislature to claim First Amendment infringement when there is nothing unconstitutional about the law on its face. So this all happened here this past week on January 31st. I almost said 23rd. I don't know why. And the day after, Disney has already filed an appeal to the lawsuit, and we've not talked about this since I feel like May or so of last year. And the
Yeah, we
reason,
tried to stop.
I mean, and for good reason, because every week it was some new bullshit that they were,
Yeah.
heckling. Both sides were heckling each other about in the media, and it just got to the point where I was tired of the grandstanding. Nothing was happening except like motions were being filed. And I'm sorry, no matter which legal drama that you would tend to watch, whether that's Law and Order or JAG or any of the other ones that's on CBS this upcoming new premiere season, now that the writer's strike is over, none of these are, they don't show like the paperwork filing and the motions and the 3 months leading up to it with Discovery. And that's what all had gone on while we took our break from talking about it. Now that we actually have a ruling, let's go ahead and talk very briefly about the current state of affairs and where this lawsuit can go. Okay. And if something gets too close, then this is what's going to happen. We on the same page?
We are.
Because this is a damn field of landmines here that we can stumble upon. So,
Yep.
all right.
Yes, this is.
How would you say the ruling of this case affects things moving forward?
Well, Disney's already appealed it, so
in no way, shape, or form.
like it's gonna go through the appeal process, and we all know it's gonna do that. I think DeSantis is definitely gonna take this as a win.
Well, he would have to because he won. So
Right. No, but I'm saying like he's.
that was on me. That's on me. I apologize.
He's he's gonna. I don't want and then what I'm hoping happens, and I am trying so hard to say without saying things. What I'm hoping doesn't happen is that this sets the precedent for the other lawsuits that are out there pending.
There was a landmine right there. I mean,
I was trying.
Careful, there's another one right there.
I don't like talking about this.
Don't move a muscle. Step very lightly to the left.
How about you take this? What do you think?
Okay. I'll actually throw in a serious thing here for this, because God knows I'm trying not to fuck this up. But here's my serious take on it from the Disney perspective. Let's say that there is a denial of appeal in this case, and this is the end of things that once was Reedy Creek. All right, tough shit. Everybody has to slog through some form of regulation, some form of monitoring, and all that kind of stuff. And so now you have to as well. You can't monitor yourselves. And honestly, the way that things have gone, and some of the things that have been reported about the actions of the Walt Disney Company do raise an eyebrow about whether or not they've ever been capable of monitoring themselves. At the end of the day here, what I'm concerned about is what this alleged $60 billion budget that Bobby I wants to throw at theme parks over the next 10 years. I kind of feel like Disney World's not going to get but $17 out of it.
Here's my issue. And you mentioned that the judge said that because everyone else had nobody else had a special district, so Disney can't say that we're being targeted. Isn't that what you said?
No, it said that technically the law applies to other special districts as well, not just the one that Disney occupies. So therefore, they technically can't say that it's singling them out because it does affect other districts.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to call it an argument, but maybe for clarification purposes. Mm-hmm. After the state of Florida took Reedy Creek from Disney, they gave a special district to Universal. So Universal, now that they're building their new theme park here, they now have a special district that has many of the same benefits that Reedy Creek had.
About to say, let's be journalistic about it. They don't have the same benefits that Disney had. They don't have the same options that Disney had either. What they're allowed to do is essentially create a taxing district. They're basically allowed to collect taxes. That's what they're allowed to do in this situation. Now, they still have to go get inspected by the elevator inspector. They still have to, pay other taxes to the state of Florida and everything. And they don't have the same oversight over the construction that Reedy Creek would have had or previously had, I should say. So they still have to adhere to construction codes that rather than have them be looked differently upon by the local municipality. Boy, this is getting dry. This is getting super dry.
My other question my other point of clarification. So the article that I am currently reading says that all of the board seats for their special district will be held by Universal employees. That is not the case for Disney anymore.
No, but there is a significant difference in the two entities themselves. And I don't dispute anything that you're saying. Obviously, it's very true that it's filled with nothing but Universal board members. But the way that Disney had set up Reedy Creek previously, there were technically residents there that had voting rights to the situation. That's not how Universal's is set up at all.
Okay.
So that's the reason why they can kind of literally just fill the board with everything that they want to, because it's more classified as like a commercial district than it is than Reedy Creek was, which was an actual local government that included both
Yeah.
commercial and
Okay.
residential.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Okay.
So there is like a difference in the balance of those two things. Now, also, it just looks bad.
It looks so bad.
It looked very bad to announce that Universal got a special tax district immediately after taking Disney's special tax district. I get that.
Yeah. Looks
so
horrible.
it looks bad. Okay. Ultimately, though, with Disney, you have to accept that the decision was made and that this appeal might not work out, and it's time to move on, because there may come a time when the legislature of the state of Florida is more amenable to maybe opening this back up. So you got to be a good steward of the land. You got to play by the rules that they're giving you for a change. And then
I'm
also
sorry. Did you say good Stewart?
steward.
You added a T, it sounded like there.
I feel like that might have been a pop on the microphone. And I'm steward.
Okay.
Anywho, now I'm lost and I don't even remember where the hell I was going. Thanks for that.
Sorry.
Thanks for that. Here, let me walk around a little bit more. So, oh God, I've stepped on several landmines. Okay. All right. Also, I think that the best thing that Disney could do in this scenario would be to spend extra money on the little things like the maintenance, because guess what? You're now subject to an independent inspection instead of your maintenance guy that doubles as the inspector for Reedy Creek.
Right.
There's you're gonna have to make some repairs to stuff that you've been putting off, and you should also be spending money on things to improve the land and make it into a larger and better tourist destination, because that's how you win over the legislature at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Make yourself invaluable.
I would also point out that keeping your mouth shut over hot button issues.
Yeah, for future reference, let's not do this again, please.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like that episode of Jag, and that's wow. How many times I'm going to bring up that show in this episode? Where Bud blew his leg off. The jump the shark moment of the show. Yeah, that's what just happened.
Yeah.
Over there with that landmine set. But I also, just so to play the opposite side of this, they should have a right to speak out. They should, and also they need to consider more than just the people who are in their employ. They have to think of the investors as well, and whether or not something like that is tactically worth it from a business perspective. There needs to be a little bit more of a balanced thought process with all sorts of different issues in this day and age, not just this particular case. I hope that we can, kind of, move on at some point here, though, in the near future, because as long as these lawsuits are still pending and their appeals are still pending, I don't think we're going to get much of a spending
yeah.
impact. I mean, why would
No,
they invest when they
we're
don't
not.
know what
We're
the
not.
situation is?
We're not. Disney World's about to get ignored for a little bit.
And look, there's a part of me that's like, oh, thank God, ignore us, please. And boy, by that I mean, like, you know, the example of the 5-year construction walls for the vagina garden. You know, that, like, okay, you can ignore us for that. You can ignore us for
In the
Tron.
17 years for Tron.
Yeah, you can ignore that type of thing. But let's try to, you know, pay attention to the stuff that we have and making it better. And God
Right.
knows we have been begging, this website as a whole has been begging for that maintenance staff to improve drastically here in the near future. Amanda,
That was a good segue.
Sigu, we are on social media, are we not?
We are.
Where might we be found on social media?
You can find us on Facebook and that website formerly known as Twitter at Cynical Disney, and you can find us everywhere else. So Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Pinterest at Cynics on Disney.
Of course, this podcast is sponsored by NotClub33.com. Make sure that you go check out NotClub33.com for all the latest and greatest updates, including but not limited to the Notcast, the newest version of which should be released this week on Friday. We are, of course, apologetic over our inconsistent schedule here over the last couple of months. But hey, we've had shit to do. We have. So, you know, it's not like you guys are paying us bukus of money on Patreon to make a career out of this. Although if you'd like to, you know, certainly send us an email to cynicaldisneyvideo@gmail.com and we will be happy to discuss. We should also point out that this episode is, of course, also brought to you by Pepto-Bismol. Why? Because that's about the only thing that I can chug these days at the end of the night because, God, the heartburn is killing me. I'm getting old. That's what I'm trying to say. So thank God we have some Pepto-Bismol laying around. If you have not done this already, what are you even doing with your life? I need you to go subscribe to this podcast on whatever podcast platform that you're listening to us on. And we need you to rate the podcast, hopefully 5 stars. Although you're welcome to leave us an honest opinion. And also leave us a review, specifically on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you go out and do that. But we're also on Spotify, Google, Amazon, and all of those podcast platforms. So make sure that you are checking us out on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on. Until next time, have yourselves a magical. I did that just for one person. Fucking day.